Welcome to this Fox 26 in Focus, Roe versus Wade overturned. I'm Rashi Vatz alongside Tom Ziska, and this morning news of the Supreme Court making the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade means that ruling, which actually made abortion legalizing it in our country, now being overturned. Tom.
Rashi, a draft opinion that was leaked last month foreshadowed today's final decision.
Protesters converged on the high court all day with calls for demonstrations across the country. This is as pro-life groups gathered at prayer vigils in cities nationwide, and that includes Houston.
President Biden is calling on Congress to essentially pass new legislation mirroring the abortion decision, which had stood for many decades.
I'm really excited about it. I'm absolutely devastated.
Within minutes of the justice's decision, the question, what's next? Democratic governors tried to comfort anxious Americans.
We're fighting back. We're protecting our providers. We're making sure insurance companies are covering abortion services. We're giving money to support our providers.
Sorry as well. I'm a little less sorry than I am pissed. A little less sorry than I am resolved and angry to do more.
California Governor Gavin Newsom signed legislation earlier this year to expand abortion access. He joined other West Coast Democrats with a message to the court and the nation.
We will not stand on the sidelines.
The West Coast United States is going to stand strong.
13 states are expected to trigger abortion bans following the hours-old Supreme Court decision. They join a larger group of states planning to end the procedure. But attorneys general from Wisconsin and Michigan say they will not enforce abortion bans. While Missouri Governor Mike Parsons tweeted, "Breaking, Missouri has become the first state in the nation to effectively end abortion." Louisiana is also ready to act.
But there's no qualms about it. In Louisiana, it's over.
U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland, once a Supreme Court nominee himself, expressed disappointment with the court's ruling, writing, "Today's decision does not eliminate the ability of states to keep abortion legal within their borders, and the Constitution continues to restrict states' authority to ban reproductive services provided outside their borders." The Attorney General went on to say the Department of Justice will not tolerate violence related to the Supreme Court decision.
Our nation's leaders making an emphasis on not just what this decision will mean right now, but for what it will mean for future generations to come.
Roe v. Wade was a 7-2 decision, written by a justice appointed by a Republican president, Richard Nixon. In the 5 decades that followed Roe v. Wade, justices appointed by Republican presidents from Eisenhower, Nixon, and Reagan, George W. Bush, were among the justices who voted to uphold the principles set forth in Roe v. Wade. It was 3 justices named by one president, Donald Trump, who were the core of today's decision to upend the scales of justice and eliminate a fundamental right for women in this country. Make no mistake, this decision is a culmination of a deliberate effort over decades to upset the balance of our law.
This is a healthcare crisis, because understand, millions of women in America will go to bed tonight without access to the health care and reproductive care that they had this morning, without access to the same health care or reproductive health care that their mothers and grandmothers had for 50 years. This is the first time in the history of our nation that a constitutional right has been taken from the people of America.
Pro-life and pro-choice advocates here in Houston had strong reactions to the ruling, so much so they took to the streets to either celebrate or call the ruling an injustice. People gathered outside Planned Parenthood in Southeast Houston tonight to host a prayer vigil. Supporters there are thankful to the justices for the ruling, they say, and while they celebrated, others were full of rage and sadness.
Because of my abortion, I was able to get a job. I was able to go back to school. I just graduated in May with my associates. I have a job starting next month. I'm more excited for my future than ever. We're planning a life together. I'm angry for the women that I know and the young girls that I know won't have the advantages that I've had because I was able to have an abortion.
It was a visceral reaction today. It was painful. It was anger.
Texas is among more than a dozen states to recently pass a trigger law, meaning the Supreme Court's decision immediately triggers a ban and abortion will be illegal in Texas within 30 days. Some providers will not wait, though, opting already today to stop providing abortion services. The Houston Women's Center hung a banner saying HWC is no longer able to provide abortion care. Fox 26's Dominique Keith looks further into the Texas law and its impact.
49 years ago, in 1973, the United States Supreme Court ruled in favor of a Texas woman called by the fictional name Jane Roe, finding state regulation of abortions unconstitutional after she took action against Dallas County District Attorney Henry Wade. Now, today's monumental and controversial overturning of Roe v. Wade means abortion is no longer a federally protected right.
The idea that states are free now to regulate abortion indicates that in the future, where you live could very well have a strong influence on the rights you enjoy.
The overturning of Roe v. Wade now triggers in Texas the Human Life Protection Act passed last year.
It outlaws abortions in Texas unless the mother's life is in danger. It takes the performing of an abortion in Texas and makes it a felony. And doctors who perform abortions could face life in prison and fines of up to $100,000.
Rice University professor of political science Dr. Paul Brace says a number of states also have so-called zombie laws, statutes that prohibited abortion before Roe v. Wade.
That have not been repealed, and they're still on the books.
One thing is clear, because Louisiana and Oklahoma also have trigger laws, many women are expected to head to New Mexico to terminate pregnancy.
So this definitely has an unequal impact based on financial means.
A number of major companies have announced plans to pay for travel for employees seeking abortions. However, Dr. Brace says traveling to a state where the procedure is legal to get an abortion may not be an option for long.
States are trying to figure out ways to criminalize that behavior.
Louisiana and Oklahoma also have trigger laws, so women in Texas who are seeking abortions are expected to travel to New Mexico, which is not expected to ban abortions. I'm Dominique Keith, Fox 26 News.
As we go to break, we're taking a live look from New York as today's historic decision was made on abortion rights. Log on to our website right now and tell 26 how today's historic ruling made you feel. We'll be right back.
This is a moment to pause and reflect. I believe this is a moment for incredible celebration. This is a momentous moment. This has been 49 years in the coming, and today's decision is a vindication for the rule of law, but it's also a testament to millions of activists, to millions of women who marched in the March for Life, to millions of activists who organized behind the presidential campaigns of Ronald Reagan, of George Herbert Walker Bush, of George W. Bush, of Donald Trump. This is 49 years of hard work to reverse a decision that was egregiously wrong the day it came down.
Today, the Republican-controlled Supreme Court has achieved their dark, extreme goal of ripping away a woman's right to make their own reproductive health decisions. Because of Donald Trump, Mitch McConnell, and the Republican Party, their supermajority in the Supreme Court, American women today have less freedom than their mothers.
Split conversations like that are going to be taking place the next several days, months, for generations to come. And our What's Your Point panel tonight is proof that you can have rational, calm conversations, even if you are on different aisles of the spectrum.
I do think there should be a debate in Texas as to what kind of laws we want to have in this area now that we're free to do so because the Supreme Court is going to let the field open. I do anticipate that many states are going to allow abortion that the liberals on abortion want to see. But to call it a dark day, I think is not the case. I think it's actually a great day for those who support the Constitution and its meaning, and not this changes that were done by the court that should have never been done.
Marbell, give me your reaction to this landmark decision.
I am very concerned because what it did was make legal abortions unavailable, but it will not stop abortions. And I remember back in high school, several people dying, parents dying, who got abortions from illegal places where they didn't have the proper health care. There was no spectrum of what you should do, what you shouldn't do. I remember hearing about a lady that grew up with my mother who died when this lady used a clothes hanger and it killed her. I am concerned about the lives that are going to be lost trying to find this illegally and being put in situations where their life is in danger. Altruistic rules never work in a diverse society. No matter what you put in place, it doesn't fit every case. So to say that you can't have an abortion through no matter what happens, that is not going to work. You may not have a legal abortion, but they are not going to stop abortions. They're just not. They're not. There was abortions before Roe versus Wade. There will be abortions after Roe versus Wade. I can assure you of that.
Well, I have to echo what Gary said. This is a problematic decision, has been for 50 years. It was not correctly decided in the first place, and it doesn't outlaw abortion, but it does return it to the states. And some of the states in the United States have extraordinarily progressive or liberal laws regarding abortion. And, that not only includes California, but the state of Alaska.
And right now, there are no options, and it's very bleak. And the survivors we see, as I said, are marginalized, mostly women of color, having restricted access to healthcare. This further restricts their access, if not makes it impossible. And to tomorrow's point, abortions are going to continue, and they may go back 50 years to the times where there's hackers involved, women are jumping off, ledges to try to abort themselves. That is a very scary consequence, to limit the abortion. And we don't know how far this is going to go. And to Abbott's point about saying, hey, we're going to protect children. What about the 1 in 5 children in the state of Texas who go every night starving? I mean, we've got some serious problems with the state of family in this country. And now we're going to women and saying, you are not allowed to have an abortion because the government says so.
There are already very loud calls to codify congressionally Roe and to start with a major turnout at the midterm elections. Holly, how do you see this impacting the next 4.5 months as we move towards November?
Well, I do think it will have some impact, but I think as people understand more about what this actually means, that it may not have the impact some hope. I do think restrictions on abortion are acceptable to the American public. And I think that will play out in the elections as people come to better understand what this actually means. And we can go back to talking about, what is a reasonable restriction on this process? At what point does the unborn child deserve protection under the law? And these are questions we really need to wrestle with as a society. And
you have passionate people on both sides of this issue. And the pro-life forces are going to be passionate about protecting life. The pro-abortion forces are going to be passionate about protecting choice. But think about this. The Democrats' idea of compromise on abortion in our Congress was the Schumer bill, where they were going to legalize abortion up till birth. Up till birth. If you look at polling, the vast majority of the American people oppose partial birth abortions. So this issue is not really clear on where the people are and what motivates them. But at the end of the day, it's going to be dollars and public safety that matter.
You can watch this entire discussion on our Fox 26 YouTube channel, and be sure to tune in Sunday for more conversation with Greg Rugen on What's Your Point at 7 a.m.
Abortion will likely become illegal in half of the country, but those states that are looking to keep abortion legal are making plans to welcome women who are in search of this type of care. We have a map of the United States showing which states already have a ban in place, which don't have a ban, which are likely to ban, and those states with trigger laws. Planned Parenthood in California is bracing, it says, to receive patients from around the country, including Texas.
I am appalled, and that my heart hurts deeply for the millions of women and other pregnant able that this will impact in the 26 states that are expected to implement abortion bans. And then the other side of me is extremely resolved in what we have to do here in California to be a sanctuary and a safe haven state for Californians and anyone coming to us for care.
We told you earlier about New Mexico being the closest state for women to get abortion-related services to Texas. We spoke with Planned Parenthood of the Rocky Mountains about the future for them.
While the Supreme Court decision won't be devastating for access to abortion care in New Mexico, we know how hard abortion bans are on communities and families across the country, and we understand the burden of having to drive or travel across the country to access the healthcare that you want and need, and understanding that many people are not going to be able to travel to get that healthcare. So we have heavy hearts for our neighbors in New Mexico today. After Senate Bill 8 in Texas last year, we saw a huge uptick in patients coming in from Texas who need access to an abortion. You're right, in New Mexico, we don't have capacity to provide care to all Texans. However, Planned Parenthood of the Rocky Mountains in New Mexico is working as hard and as fast as we can to make sure that we're able to increase capacity in any way we can think of to provide for as many people around the country as possible. But the reality is, when the Supreme Court takes away the legal right to an abortion, there are going to be innumerable amounts of people who will not be able to get care. For my entire lifetime, have lived under the legal protection of abortion with Roe v. Wade. We saw what happened before Roe v. Wade with patients taking matters into their own hands. We do know now that self-managed abortion is much safer than it was in the 60s. However, what we know is from Senate Bill 8 in Texas, there are going to be numbers of people who are not able to travel to have an abortion. And so we're not exactly sure what will happen. A number of them will keep their pregnancies, a number will manage themselves, and we're not sure what will happen with many people. I would just like to underscore that in New Mexico, abortion will still be legal. If you have an appointment in New Mexico, if you're traveling to New Mexico, you can still come and receive the comprehensive, compassionate abortion care that you're seeking.
And that's a big question. What's going to happen to these women who want to seek an abortion, especially the women of low income who don't have much money? Well, I had a very interesting conversation with someone who's doing research on just that. She is an associate professor of sociology at University of Houston, Dr. Sheila Katz. And here's a little bit of our conversation.
Here in Houston, the clinics that would be closest to us are outside of St. Louis in southeastern Illinois, are in Colorado, or in New Mexico. And so a woman would have more than a day's drive or not a short flight in order to seek an abortion, and then will have to stay overnight in the city that she travels to in order to receive the health care that was otherwise available here in our city. Many women who seek abortion are in unhealthy relationships, and possibly they put their lives at greater risk by staying in those unhealthy relationships in order to have the resources to seek the care. Women will still get abortions. Women will do whatever they can and to travel to places to access an abortion. What's going to happen is that women who have money, women who have the ability to coordinate the logistics will get abortions. The women who will not be able to access safe, affordable health care are the women who are already the most disadvantaged in our society.
What do you think is going to happen to these low-income women who are seeking an abortion?
We're going to see women die. We're going to see women attempt to access an abortion or medication that they think will induce an abortion, and we will have women's maternal mortality rates increase, and that's very scary.
And that wraps up our Fox 26 In Focus special.
For more information about the effects of the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, you can turn to our website, fox26houston.com.